They released 72 killers to save paradise and accidentally destroyed it forever. Picture the year 1883. The Hawaiian Islands, a chain of volcanic paradises in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, lush valleys, pristine beaches, and sprawling sugar plantations that stretched as far as the eye could see. I'm Patrick, and this is Speculative Science, where we examine the moments when human ingenuity collides with nature, and nature wins. Today's story begins with a crisis, a real economic emergency that threatened to bankrupt Hawaii's most powerful industry. And it ends with one of the most devastating ecological disasters in American history. This is the story of how 72 animals, imported with the best intentions and scientific reasoning, permanently altered an entire ecosystem, how a perfect solution became an extinction-level catastrophe. This is the story of Hawaii's mongooses, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand why good intentions and logical thinking aren't enough when you're playing God with nature. Let's set the scene properly, because understanding the desperation is crucial to understanding the disaster that followed. In the 1880s, Hawaii wasn't yet a U.S. state. It was an independent kingdom, but one increasingly dominated by American businessmen who had established massive sugar plantations across the islands. We're talking about operations that covered thousands of acres. Oahu, Maui, Kauai, the Big Island, all converted into orderly rows of sugarcane. Sugar was everything to Hawaii's economy. It employed thousands of workers. It generated millions of dollars in revenue. It was the foundation upon which Hawaii's entire relationship with the United States was built. And then came the rats. Now, rats weren't new to Hawaii. They'd arrived centuries earlier with Polynesian voyagers. The Polynesian rat, or Rattus excellens, a relatively small species that had integrated into the island ecosystem. But in the mid-1800s, a new invader arrived on European and American ships, the Norwegian rat, Rattus norvegicus. This wasn't the harmless little creature you might imagine. The Norwegian rat is larger, more aggressive, and devastatingly prolific. A single female can produce up to 12 litters per year, with each litter containing 6 to 12 pups. Do the math, and you realize these populations can explode exponentially. And they were feasting on the sugar cane. Plantation owners watched helplessly as their profits were literally eaten away. The rats would swarm the fields at night, gnawing through the stalks, ruining entire sections of crop. They contaminated storage facilities. They damaged irrigation systems. They spread disease. Conservative estimates suggested the rats were destroying 5 to 10% of the entire sugar harvest annually. When you're talking about an industry worth millions in 1880s dollars, that's an economic catastrophe. The plantation owners tried everything. They set traps by the thousands. They used poison. They hired workers specifically to hunt rats. None of it worked. The rats bred faster than they could be killed, and the populations kept growing. By 1883, the situation had reached a breaking point. The plantation owners were desperate. They needed a solution, and they needed it fast. And then someone remembered Jamaica. Here's where the story gets interesting, because the plan wasn't just some random idea. It was based on scientific observation and real-world success stories, or at least what appeared to be success. In Jamaica and other Caribbean islands, sugar plantation owners had faced similar rat problems decades earlier, and they'd found what seemed like the perfect solution: the mongoose. The mongoose, specifically the small Indian mongoose, Herpestes oropunctatus, is a sleek, weasel-like carnivore native to South Asia, and it has a legendary reputation. In India, mongooses are famous for killing cobras. There are countless stories of these fearless little predators taking on venomous snakes 5 times their size and winning. Rudyard Kipling immortalized this in The Jungle Book with Rikki Tikki Tavi, the heroic mongoose who saves a British family from deadly serpents. But it wasn't just snakes. Mongooses are opportunistic hunters with lightning-fast reflexes. They eat rats, mice, insects, birds, eggs, basically anything they can catch. They're intelligent, adaptable, and relentless. In Jamaica, plantation owners had imported mongooses to control their rat populations, and the reports were glowing. Rat numbers had allegedly declined. Crop losses had decreased. The mongooses seemed to be doing exactly what they were supposed to do. So in 1883, the Hawaiian planters made their move. They contacted suppliers in Jamaica and arranged for a shipment of mongooses to be sent to Hawaii. The first group, 72 individuals, arrived in Honolulu aboard a ship destined to become Hawaii's salvation. The planters didn't just release them randomly. They studied the reports from Jamaica. They consulted with naturalists. They made what they believed were informed, rational decisions based on the best available evidence. 9 of the 72 mongooses were kept at the Honolulu Zoo for observation. The remaining 63 were distributed across the major islands and released into the sugarcane fields. The expectation was simple. The mongooses would hunt the rats. The rat population would collapse, and the sugar industry would be saved. It was logical. It was scientific. It was based on precedent. It was also about to become one of the worst ecological decisions in Hawaiian history. For the first few weeks after the mongoose release, there was optimism. The mongooses were spotted hunting in the fields. They seemed active and healthy. Everything appeared to be going according to plan. And then, nothing changed. The rats kept coming. The crop losses continued. If anything, the problem seemed to be getting worse, not better. The plantation owners were baffled. The mongooses were clearly thriving. Their populations were growing. But the rats weren't. Disappearing. What was going wrong? The answer, when naturalists finally figured it out, was almost comically simple. It came down to a fundamental biological fact that somehow nobody had thought to check. Rats are nocturnal. Mongooses are diurnal. Let me break that down. Rats do almost all of their foraging and activity at night. When the sun goes down, they emerge from their burrows and nests to feed, breed, and move around. During the day, they hide. Mongooses, on the other hand, are active during the day. They hunt in daylight, when their excellent vision gives them an advantage. At night, they sleep in burrows and crevices. The two species were operating on completely opposite schedules. The rats would feast on the sugarcane all night, while the mongooses slept. Then, at dawn, the rats would retreat to their hiding spots, just as the mongooses woke up and began hunting. They were like two shifts at a factory, one clocking out as the other clocked in. They barely encountered each other. This should have been discovered during the planning phase. It should have been obvious to anyone who studied both species' behavior patterns, but somehow, in the rush to solve the crisis, this fundamental incompatibility was overlooked. The mongooses, meanwhile, still needed to eat. They were efficient predators in a new environment with no natural enemies. And Hawaii, isolated in the middle of the Pacific for millions of years, had evolved an ecosystem filled with easy prey that had never encountered a predator like this. Ground-nesting birds, eggs, lizards, insects, small mammals. The mongooses started eating their way through species that had no defenses against them. Hawaii is, or was, home to some of the most unique birds on Earth. The island's isolation had created a laboratory of evolution, with species found nowhere else on the planet. Many of these birds nested on the ground, having evolved in an environment with no native terrestrial predators. The nene, Hawaii's state bird, a goose that nested on volcanic slopes. The Hawaiian petrel, which burrows into the ground to lay its eggs. The Hawaiian stilt, whose nests are simple scrapes in the earth. Dozens of species of endemic seabirds that came ashore only to breed. All of them were completely vulnerable to the mongoose. Within just a few years, reports began flooding in from across the islands. Bird populations were crashing. Entire nesting colonies were being wiped out. Naturalists found mongoose tracks leading directly to destroyed nests, empty shells scattered across the ground. But it wasn't just birds. Hawaii's native insects, many of them found nowhere else on Earth, became mongoose prey. The island's tree snails, slow-moving and defenseless, were decimated. Small reptiles and amphibians virtually disappeared from areas where mongooses were active. The mongooses also developed a taste for chicken eggs, putting them in direct conflict with local farmers and residents. They raided coops, destroyed poultry operations, and became regarded as pests themselves. And through it all, the rats remained untouched, uncontrolled, still eating the sugarcane. The solution had not only failed to solve the original problem, it had created an entirely new catastrophe that was arguably far worse. Let me give you some specific examples, because the abstract idea of ecological damage doesn't fully convey the horror of what happened. Take the Hawaiian dark-rumped petrel, or uayu. These seabirds spend most of their lives over the open ocean, returning to the mountains of Hawaii only to breed. They nest in burrows on volcanic slopes, laying a single egg each year. Before the mongoose, uau populations were stable, if not abundant. After the mongoose, the species nearly went extinct. Mongooses could easily enter the burrows, kill the adult birds, and consume the eggs. Entire breeding colonies disappeared within a decade. Today, the dark-rumped petrel is listed as endangered. Its population has never recovered. Or consider the Hawaiian monk seal, one of the rarest marine mammals on Earth. While mongooses can't hunt adult seals, they can, and do, prey on seal pups that haven't yet learned to swim. On islands where mongooses are present, seal pupping success rates are measurably lower. The nene, Hawaii's state bird, was driven to the brink of extinction. At one point, fewer than 30 individuals remained in the wild. While habitat loss played a role, mongoose predation on eggs and chicks was a major contributing factor. Species after species felt the impact. Some went extinct entirely. Others survived only in small, isolated populations on mongoose-free islands or in protected sanctuaries with aggressive predator control. And here's what makes this even more tragic. It was entirely preventable. The incompatibility between rats and mongooses was known to science. The vulnerability of island ecosystems to invasive predators was documented. There were warning signs everywhere, if anyone had bothered to look. But the pressure to act, the economic desperation, and the overconfidence in a proven solution overrode caution. Now, here's where Hawaii's story diverges sharply from places like Japan, which successfully eradicated invasive mongooses after realizing their mistake. In Japan, mongooses were introduced to Okinawa in the 1900s to control snakes, and they similarly decimated native wildlife. But starting in the early 2000s, Japanese authorities launched an aggressive eradication campaign. They used traps, tracking dogs, and coordinated hunting efforts across the island. By 2022, Okinawa declared the mongoose functionally eradicated from the main island. It took decades and cost millions of dollars, but they did it. Hawaii, by contrast, has essentially given up. The mongoose population in Hawaii is now estimated at over 100,000 individuals spread across 4 major islands: Oahu, Maui, Molokai, and the Big Island. They've been established for nearly 150 years. They've interbred, adapted, and become a permanent fixture of the ecosystem. The sheer scale of the problem makes eradication virtually impossible. Hawaii doesn't have the concentrated geography of Okinawa's main island. The terrain is varied: mountains, forests, lava fields, urban areas, giving mongooses countless places to hide and breed. There have been localized control efforts on some smaller islands and in certain protected reserves, Intensive trapping programs have reduced mongoose numbers, but these are maintenance efforts, not eradication. The moment the trapping stops, the populations rebound. The cost of a statewide eradication program would be astronomical, potentially hundreds of millions of dollars with no guarantee of success. And even if it succeeded, the damage is already done. Many of the species the mongooses pushed toward extinction are gone forever or hanging on by a thread. Hawaii's mongooses are here to stay. They're part of the ecosystem now. For better or worse. Mostly worse. The rats, by the way, still a problem. Still eating crops. Still spreading disease. The original issue was never resolved. So what went wrong? How did smart people, with good intentions and logical reasoning, create such a disaster? I think there are several lessons here, and they apply far beyond mongooses and sugar plantations. Lesson 1. Complexity resists simple solutions. Ecosystems aren't machines with broken parts you can swap out. Their intricate webs of relationships evolved over millions of years. Introducing a new variable, especially a voracious predator, will have ripple effects you cannot fully predict. The Hawaiian planters thought they were making a simple transaction. Add mongooses, subtract rats, but nature doesn't work that way. The mongooses didn't replace the rats. They added a new layer of predation to an ecosystem that had never experienced anything like it. Lesson 2. Precedent isn't always precedent. The Jamaica case seemed like proof that mongooses worked as rat control. But even in Jamaica, closer examination reveals the success was overstated. Rat populations did decline initially, but they rebounded, and Jamaica paid its own ecological price. Several endemic species were driven to extinction by mongooses there, too. The difference is that Jamaica had a more robust ecosystem with native predators and fewer ground-nesting birds. What worked, sort of, in the Caribbean was catastrophic in isolated, predator-free Hawaii. Lesson 3. Island ecosystems are uniquely fragile. This is a pattern repeated throughout history. Australia's rabbits, New Zealand's possums, Guam's brown tree snakes. Islands are evolution's laboratories, creating specialized species in isolation. But that specialization makes them vulnerable when new species arrive. Hawaii's birds had evolved without land-based predators. They had no instinct to fear creatures like mongooses. They were sitting ducks, literally. Lesson 4. Some mistakes are irreversible. This might be the hardest lesson to accept. We like to think that if we mess up, we can fix it. Apply more money, more technology, more effort, and we can restore things to how they were. But sometimes you can't. The species that went extinct because of the mongoose aren't coming back. The ecological relationships that were destroyed won't be rebuilt. The Hawaii that existed before 1883 is gone forever. Every time you visit Hawaii today, whether you're hiking in the mountains, lounging on a beach, or exploring a nature preserve, you're seeing an altered ecosystem. The birds that should be there, singing in the trees and nesting on the ground, are absent. In their place, mongooses, scurrying through the underbrush, hunting the remnants of what remains. The Hawaiian monk seals you might glimpse on a remote beach have survived despite the mongooses, not because of any balance with them. The nene geese that appear on tourist brochures as symbols of Hawaiian wildlife exist only because of intensive captive breeding and predator control, programs that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars annually. This is Hawaii's new normal, a paradise permanently altered by 72 animals and one catastrophically flawed decision. And here's what keeps me up at night. We're still making these mistakes. Even now, even with all our ecological knowledge and computational modeling and scientific expertise, humans continue to introduce invasive species, sometimes deliberately, sometimes accidentally, with devastating results. We've learned the lessons of Hawaii intellectually, but we haven't internalized them. We still believe we can engineer nature, we still think we're smart enough to predict all the outcomes. The mongooses are here to remind us we're not. This has been Speculative Science. I'm Patrick, and I hope this story makes you think twice the next time someone proposes a simple solution to a complex problem. Nature is not simple. Ecosystems are not mechanical, and the unintended consequences of our actions can echo for centuries. If you want to explore more stories of human hubris colliding with ecological reality, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Trust me, we have plenty more disasters to examine. Drop a comment. What other invasive species stories should I cover? What other genius solutions that backfired spectacularly do you want to hear about? I read every comment, and your suggestions shape this channel. And remember, the next time you're in Hawaii and you see a mongoose darting across the road, that's not just a cute animal. That's a living reminder of what happens when we think we can outsmart millions of years of evolution. Thanks for watching. Stay curious, stay humble, and whatever you do, think before you release.